Oh, hey, I just noticed the performative outrage market is booming. How many fan bases right now are sitting there saying, we suck, we'll never win again? Cowboys, Eagles, Titans definitely, Bears, Texans suddenly, and of course the Patriots. We live in a world where what we just saw, we believe is the way it's always going to be. And it ain't.
In the NFL, especially early in the season, is so up and down, and no one really knows who's good, who's bad. Even when the schedule releases come out, just because you were good the past year doesn't mean you're going to be good this year. And the same thing, just because you were bad last year doesn't mean you're going to be bad this year. And so, for me, it's always been about just changing the page and moving on to the next one.
That win over the Bengals, it validated the Patriots were on the right track. Establish a running game, use a veteran quarterback, don't make mistakes, great defense. The loss to the Jets, well, it validated that they're still a team that has a lot of work to do. And if they don't play their best, or if they play bad, they're going to get absolutely rototilled. The Patriots are going to get mollywomped again. I can promise you that. And there's also going to be occasions when they look like they're heading in the right direction. Such is life when you're an NFL bottom feeder. Eat enough algae, you're going to get big and strong. Until then, deep breaths.
Quick Slants is presented by your local New England Honda dealers.
It's a heavy door. It takes a lot of energy for a guy like me, a little wispy guy like me, to move a big metal door. Took a lot of work for the Patriots to move the Jets' defensive line the other day, too. We're going to get into so much of that. But before we look back at the Jets and forward to the Niners, I got to bring in my buddy Kayla Burton.
Let's
get
go.
in here. What's up, bro?
I didn't eat algae. Am I good?
Oh, yeah, you're going to grow up big and strong, too.
Let's go.
We'll get you some kale, whatever you need. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. You know what I love at this time? You like the dress?
I love the burgundy.
You know what I like?
What?
Game plan.
Let's hit it.
Let's hit it.
What do we got for today? We got getting defensive. The Patriots cannot defensively be as lax as they were against the Jets. Maybe not. Is Drake May going to be in the program? Niners are up next. We'll go into that we'll look at it. And Dante Scarnecchia will join us.
That's cool.
Interview to talk about the offensive line and its woes and how to fix it.
That's someone who you can definitely rely on to
One
fix.
can trust.
Guess what we're getting to now? It's Quickfire, presented by your local New England Honda dealers, starting with Patriots head coach Jayden Mayo and the offensive adjustments they're looking to make.
Quickfire.
As a whole, we just have to do a better job keeping the quarterback in the pocket. That was one of the last reminders, even with Rodgers, is let's keep this guy in the pocket. And, he just had free roam too many times, and we'll get that corrected.
A couple plays stood out to me right at the beginning of each half. 2nd and 5, second play of the game for the Jets. Aaron Rodgers goes for an 11-yard scamper. Yep. 2nd and 11. Second half, second play, again, he picks it up with a scamper. You can't have that from your defense. The week before, it was Kyle Duggar with a breakdown in coverage. This week, it was the Patriots losing contain. You can't have this from a defense that the Patriots are going to rely on. And yeah, they relied on them a ton last year, Kayla, but the burden still falls to them.
Yeah, it also follows a little bit on the offensive side, and switching to that side of the ball, there is no doubt Ramondre Stevenson is the Pats' go-to back, leading the team in the ground game, but the lead rusher has also kind of shot himself in the foot at times, and Jayden Mayo, here's what he has to say.
It's no secret that, Dre has fumbled the ball 3 times in 3 games, and, now you become a target, and every single team, not just for Ramondre, but for everyone who handles the ball, we're all going to be targets until we can show that we can protect the ball.
Here's the interesting thing. You got Jayden Mayo has absolutely no hesitation whatsoever about calling guys out directly. It's really interesting to watch because Bill, who would probably lacerate players happily in any team meeting, would be at the podium and say, yeah, we all got to be better. He doesn't mind Jayden just saying, yeah, that sucked. I saw it, you saw it, we all saw it. Let's just call it like we see it. Ramondre will, I would imagine, continue to be better at that, but they cannot afford, as I pointed out, with the loss of contain or defensive breakdowns, they can't turn it over, friend.
And he's kind of that player's coach, so I guess it makes sense. All right, we're talking about protection. Speaking of, you had the chance, Tommy Curran, to catch up with the left tackle. Let's hear it.
Is it tough to watch that kind of a game when, you fall behind and then it's kind of a jailbreak on Jacoby?
Yeah, definitely. You can, because you want the best for the guys, you want the best for the team. But we came in today, recognizing what we need to get better at, and return the page to, onto San Fran because we have another, tough challenge coming up this week.
All right, left tackle Vidarian Lowe there with Tommy Curran. Here is now a look at just about how much Jacoby Brissett is getting hit this season. He has the highest QB pressure rate in the NFL at 47.6%, ahead of Will Levis, Deshaun Watson, Justin Herbert, and Sam Darnold. Tom, tough when it comes to the pressure.
And it's not going to cease because now teams, especially after this Jets game, realize, okay, we could exploit this until they stop it, until they run effectively, until they get the ball out on time. We're going to keep bringing it. Phil had an excellent stat that he gave me on the Pats Talk pod. Jacoby Brissett is 5th in the league right now in time to throw. And you say, well, wait a minute. He's under pressure more than anyone in the league, but he's got the 5th most time to throw. That's attributable to the fact that Jacoby Brissett will stand there and look and say, you know what? Nobody's open. I ain't throwing it. I'm going to take the hit. So when you think about it, those two stats do kind of converge a little bit.
Okay, well, we saw Jacoby Brissett. We also saw the other quarterback, Drake May, making his NFL debut a little under 5 minutes of Thursday's game. And then, of course, came the questions of which QB is playing the next week.
So right now, Jacoby's still our starting quarterback. And even after the game, I watched that film the whole way, back home, got in early in the morning and still felt the same way. We have to support him across the board, as a coaching staff, players. We have to support him and keep him clean and hopefully give him opportunities to look for the open receiver.
It would have been chaos if Drake May was on the field for the entire game the other night. And again, I'm going to reassert this. I'm not the least bit concerned about whether or not Drake May gets injured. And I don't think Drake May is, and I would doubt that the Patriots are either. Their primary concern, they don't want him to get hurt, but their primary concern is going to be, we don't want him to begin to develop bad habits. We don't want him to regress. The injury rate, as everybody says every year, is 100% in the NFL. If he's out there, it's part of the business. You might get dinged. But the bigger part of it is, to me, Kayla, you can't afford to have him out there and not know what's going on. That's something I'm going to talk to Dante about in the next block as well.
Let's go. Some good news. Great, good news, I'll say good, for the Patriots. Reinforcements, they may be on the way. Kendrick Bourne is eligible to return in Week 5, and Mayo says he is making great progress and running fast. That's good there. City So, who missed the first 3 weeks, returned to practice on Monday. And Vidarian Lowe returned to practice. And Cole Strange also eligible to return in Week 5. So, Tom, hopeful news for the team.
Absolutely. I mean, you've got to get these guys back and at least have your full complement. Caden Wallace, Layden Robinson, they're not going to be as bad on the offensive line as they were last week. That, to me, is the entire process for the Patriots. Can they get time? Can they make yards on first down? Can they extend drives? Because there's a trickle-down effect, as you people know, on the defense. And a defense without Juwan Bentley and a defense without Christian Barmore that's as dinged up as they were, and certainly not creating the pass rush that you're expecting, has to stay on the field offensively to keep some heat off them. So those guys coming back on the offensive line could make a big difference.
They may have to, because up next they are traveling to San Francisco to take on the shorthanded 49ers, who blew a 10-point fourth quarter lead against the Rams.
Just how disappointing of a loss that was. I knew everyone was pissed without them having to tell me, and we should be. When you have a game like that where you feel you have every chance to win and you don't get it done, those are usually the more disappointing ones.
Party out back for Kyle Shanahan these days, huh? You see that? Hockey here. They are a team that I would be extremely concerned about coming off a loss like this, because at home, after that loss, which to me I did not see coming, this is one that's going to have their total attention. Interestingly, though, they are battered by injuries.
Okay. Time now for...
Oh, from the stands.
I like when you toss to it. It's more fun.
Yeah.
Time now from the stands.
Patriots have turned in 3 very different performances. I threw this out to you folks on Twitter today. The question was very simple. Which team is the real them? The one from Week 1 against the Bengals, Week 2 against Seattle, Week 3 against the Jets, or a mix, a melange of all 3? There's your answers at the bottom of the screen without my glasses on. Oh, wait a minute. I have my glasses right here.
Oh, lovely.
I'll be able to see it. Here we go. Week 3 against
Can you
the
still
Jets,
see?
I'm afraid. Yeah, now I get them all.
We had a lot of viewers commenting on this one. Let's start with Pats fan Kev going with week 1, not because it was a win, but a competitive game against similar competition, since it's now become evident the Bengals are also not good. Win or lose, they should compete against moderate to suck teams. Okay. Perryman Jr.
Oh, Perryman.
Unfortunately, it's week 3. The Jets exposed the Patriots' weaknesses on offensive line the most. The line needs to be fixed, and it starts with drafting a real left tackle, Tom.
Concurrence.
Pats fan burners, somewhere between week 2, week 3. Under no circumstances should May start this year.
Disagree.
This O-line is not good. Waiting for a true wide receiver number 1 to emerge. Run game is inconsistent. See the O-line. We can't kill 2 drafted QBs in the span of 2 years. Need to wait until the whole team is better. Joe Spence, 22, says a mix. I believe their season is completely dependent on the coaching and execution of the opposing team. They don't have enough talent to impose their will on an opponent.
You know what? And I got to thank you people who are actually out there watching who responded, because we got an absolute fleet.
There's a lot
Say
today.
absolute again, Tom. We got a fleet of outstanding responses. So we thank you every week for all the comments that you put in, because they're great.
Yeah.
You guys have, if you were here, you would be next to Kayla and making more sense than me. God bless you.
Amen.
Look, when we look at the Patriots, this is a team, as I said at the top of the show, they're going to fluctuate week to week. Some weeks they're going to look like they have it all together. Some weeks they're going to look like they are miles away. It's dependent, as our last writer said, on the opposition. It's dependent on who's available to them. It's dependent on this very simple thing. How do you do on first down offensively? Because if it's 2nd and 8, 2nd and 9, you're hosed. They got to make yards on the ground.
It's also dependent on how they show up each week. They can't be a team that just casually shows up on a Thursday night, game. You can't.
It was weird to see what they said was a little bit of flatness.
Tough.
So we can't have that, and we definitely can't have any flatness in Kayla's Corner, which is up now. It's presented by Shaw's. They are perfecting the art of fresh. Kayla?
Amen. I got this guy, Jayden Daniels. Did you guys see what he did? He went off last night in his 38-33 win against the Bengals. He was 21 of 23 for 254 yards, 2 touchdowns. He also rushed for 39 yards, by the way. The number 2 overall pick has now had 2 games where his team has scored on every drive, excluding kneel downs. Brady, Mahomes, Breeze, and Peyton Manning have combined to do that twice in their careers. But can I just say, my favorite play, it came at the end of the first half, okay? It was 2nd and 5. He throws a 55-yard bomb to Terry McLaurin, who, Tommy, I don't know if you saw, he was double covered. And he was able to split. McLaurin just splits these guys. Jayden Daniels throws it beautifully to set up a 1st and goal. It wasn't even the final, leading touchdown to end the game, but it was that 55-yard bomb that he threw that really has shown this guy's pretty good.
It's funny because I'm watching the game, and they had a 4th and 5. And they eschewed the field goal, decided to go for it on 4th and 5. Dicey decision by Dan Quinn.
4th and 5.
They
Not even 4th and 2.
Up. They picked it up, and I'm like, and I'm watching Jayden Daniels go like this. I'm like, shut up, you're a rookie. Don't boss people around. You just got here. And I'm like, oh, okay. You can.
Do we have that X for you? Shut up, you're a rookie. Jayden Daniels delivered, y'all. That's what we like to see out of rookies.
Hit him with the tease, will you?
Let's go. Coming up at 6:30 p.m., we're going to tune into our Bella Early Edition with Trenny. Trenny Casey has much more on the Pats when she is joined by Albert Breer. And she has a wrap-up of Celtics Media Day. It was kind of great.
It was good. Now, coming up after the break, I will talk to former Patriots offensive line coach and New England legend Dante Scarnecchia, get a handle on what he thinks should happen with the line and with Jacoby and with Drake May. Don't you move! Hey, Wednesday at 6, catch another edition of the Game Plan. Tom Giles and QB Brian Hoyer will get you ready for Patriots 49ers. Nobody brings you in depth like Hoyer does. The Game Plan presented by your local New England Honda dealers. Meanwhile, I hope you recognize that voice. I really do. Meanwhile, Growth Potential is presented by Dr. Matthew Lepresti. Look younger, feel younger, get your hair back with Leonard Hair Transplant Associates. Here's a look at the pressure numbers for the Pats this season. This is going to have Jacoby Brissett tearing his hair out compared to last year. Look at it. Fewer passes attempted, getting sacked more. They have more time to throw but are facing more pressures, and they have the 2nd highest pressure rate overall. So we decided, Dante, can you tell us what in God's name's going on and what they should do? Here he is. First question I want to ask is relative to the Jets game. It really seemed like the perfect storm of adversity. You had multiple players out, continue to be out. City So, Vidarian Lowe was out. He's been actually playing okay. Cole Strange remains out. And you had rookies in Caden Wallace and Layden Robinson in the lineup on the road in a fired-up atmosphere. Was that kind of a one-off game, or did you see some things that you'd be long-term concerned about?
I think that given all those factors, and the one thing that is just poison is getting behind by score, where it's just like, man, we got to throw the ball. As long as they can play, and especially when, the roster was reduced to what it was, Okorafor, he's gone. As you said, Verdarian, he's hurt. City So, he's hurt. And so you got to do something because the game's being played. So they all get out there, and then all of a sudden you get behind, and it's one of those, you got to throw it. And, against a team that has really good pass rushers, and they really kind of got away from their personality of not being a big blitz team, and they became a blitz team that night. And it's just like anything, and the sharks are swimming and the blood's in the water, man. If you can't block it, you're getting a lot more of it. And they had some difficult pressures. So that's just it was really a bad storm, one of those imperfect storms you don't want to deal with. And we've all had to deal with it.
And it's coming again this week until they prove they can deal with it. What would be job one for you? What would be the number one priority for you as an offensive line coach? And I know that you don't want to undercut the guy there, Scott Peters, but just in general, what would you say to a group that just went through that kind of adversity and knows it's going to see it again until it can fix it?
Well, you just said it, if they're going to make you prove that you fixed it, okay? And if you and they'll know real fast if you haven't. And so when all of a sudden they bring a pressure, look at whatever pressures that the Jets ran last week, that's not going away, okay? Because you're going to get them until you prove you can block it. And so I would say that you're going to get you're going to get more of the same, and you got to this between when the game ended Thursday night all through this week. You got to see all those things that gave you problems, and you got to work on those things. You can't stick your head in the sand. And Scott's not going to do that. He's going to work on the things that gave him problems and see if they can fix those things. And also, as important, stay ahead on down and distance, and try to avoid long yardage, and and hopefully keep it to where they can manage the game like they did in the first 2 weeks, where you can just hang in there and hang in there and hang in there, and things can come out maybe different.
There's only so much of a thrashing that Jacoby can take. And
I love the way Jacoby plays. I think he's doing everything he has to do with the skills he's got and all the rest of it. And hey, look, we won games with Jacoby when Tom was, in purgatory, and when he went out there and played really good for us. I like the guy, and so he is what he is. We all know that, and he knows it too. But I just think that he's going to go out there and do everything he can to help the team win, and can't say any more for a guy than that.
The physical toughness he's exhibited, and you've seen tough guys. You've seen Tom. Tom took more merciless hits, I think, in different games at different occasions than anybody ever has. But that's what I look at with Jacoby is at some point it's going to hit critical mass with the amount of hits he's taken. Would it have looked any different if Drake May was out there the first 3 weeks? People are going to look at Jayden Daniels' performance last night for Washington and say, if Jayden Daniels was here, I don't think Jayden Daniels would look like that if he was here right now. It's just the situations are different.
Yeah, I just hope that when he gets out there, it doesn't look like recess. Okay, and what recess looks like on the playground. Everybody go deep. I just hope it looks like, a guy that gets out there, gets them in the huddle, calls the plays, get them to the line. Look at the hardest 10 seconds or less in football is the quarterback standing on the line and looking at what he's supposed to be looking at. Okay, I think it's going to be this. And then the ball gets snapped. Now he's got to validate it. It's that. Okay. Or, oh my God, it's not that, it's this. That's why this thing's so hard to play. It's not easy. It's the hardest thing to do in all of sports. I don't care what anybody says, because there's not many guys that are really good NFL quarterbacks. And, you know, all those things take time.
You can hear the entire conversation on my Patriots Talk podcast. I'll tell you something. I introduced him at the outset as one of the greatest assistant coaches in the history of professional football. And not surprisingly, he downplayed that idea. But I truly think that he was. And you'll hear him credit all the people around him, Tom Brady, Bill Belichick, and the people who did it with him. But those people so uniformly and unanimously credit Dante Scarnecchia for what he lent to this franchise from, hell, about 1978, 79, 80 until just the beginning of this decade. It's remarkable. Meanwhile, it's time now for my absurdly detailed and overly confident pregame prediction revisit from last Thursday night. How'd I do? I got 24-21 Jets. At some point, the Patriots are going to have an over. And I would think maybe on a short week, maybe it turns into, okay, well, we're too tired to stop the other team. And they actually put up some points. That's disappointing. It's disappointing to get it wrong, and it's disappointing for me to bill it as an absurdly detailed prediction when I barely gave any details. Sometimes people aren't prepared for Thursday night football. I wasn't. I didn't have my absurdly detailed prediction ready. This Sunday, the detailed prediction will be ready for you. Of course, you can join us for pregame live. I believe it'll be at noon, okay? And the game's at 4, but noontime for pregame live. Phil will have his next Pats podcast. He will be previewing the San Francisco 49ers. I'll have Matt Mayoko from NBC Sports Bay Area. It'll be fascinating to watch because all the injuries that the San Francisco 49ers have suffered and the way I watched them play against the Rams last week, I have a hard time saying they're ripe for the picking. But it was a weird performance by Brock Purdy. Maybe more water before the program, less coffee, because I have muck mouth.